Hello and welcome, brothers. It is I, Super Saiyan, ready to start off these tactic videos. I'm starting off with the Mars Pattern Reaver Titan, or any kind of Reaver Titan. If you've built one yourself, if you've converted your Mars to a Lucius pattern, if you've made it out of loo roll, who cares? This is the tactics to use this type of Titan. So this is the unit of which I speak, a Reaver Battle Titan. Like all tactic videos, I'm going to show you the model, give you a bit of fluff about it, talk to you about the rules, and then discuss the tactics, their positives, their weaknesses, how you should be using them on the field of battle. The Reaver is a vast machine. It's protected by thick adamantine armour plates and carries devastating firepower. This Mars Pattern Reaver is said to be older than any other Titan pattern still in service. Its origins date back even before the Great Crusade. Normally they carry 3 weapons, and the armament on its carapace is slightly smaller than the weapons on its arms, but they're all perfectly capable of slaughtering regiments in a storm of fire. And just the appearance of a single Reaver Titan has been known to sway the tide of conflict. Each footstep obviously would cause the earth to shake. Let's talk about the rules of this beast. Firstly, it ain't cheap. It'll set you back 1,450 points if you want to use it in a game. So in a 3,000 point game, I don't think I'd use it in this. 5,000 point game, I would. 4,000, probably, but not in the 3,000, because that's half your army right there. You don't have to pay for any of your weapons and things like that, so they all come included. Its stats: it's got a weapon skill of 2, a ballistic skill of 4, its strength 10, and its armour on the front and the sides 14, and the rear is 13. So already on the sides and the rear, it's got 1 more armour than a Scout Titan and the Warhound. Its initiative is 1, but it does have 2 attacks instead of 1, which is a bit odd. Don't know where the other attack comes from, but I'll leave that to your imagination. I would have thought that the Warhound would have 2 attacks and this one have 1, or maybe this one have 3 and the Warhound have 2, but who knows? Because the Warhound's an agile vehicle, an agile Titan, and it has 18 hull points, so it's got double the amount of hull points as the Warhound, and it does have void shields. It's got 4 void shields, so again double the amount, and it's the same rules with void shields. Any hits from shooting attacks have to hit the void shield first and collapse it, and the void shield is obviously armor 12, whereas close combat weapons, you don't need to go through the void shield, you just hit on the armour, but obviously it's 14 on the front and sides, but the rear is 13. And again, same rules. At the end of its turn, you can roll dice for every collapsed shields. So if you've knocked down 4 of them, you roll 4 dice, and on a 5+ on all of them, it will restore the collapsed shields. So the weapons I've loaded it out with, and these are the common most type of weapons, is the laser blaster, which is essentially a 3-barreled turbo laser, because you've got a double barrel one would be a turbo laser destructor. So you've got a turbo laser destructor, and then a laser blaster, and that is just there, if you can see that. So the left weapon is the laser blaster, and the right weapon just there is the Gatling blaster, and the top weapon, the carapace, is the Apocalypse missile launcher. Now these weapons, I'll just go through mine and the rules, and then I'll talk to you about all the other weapons that it can have. So on the left side, the laser blaster, it's a range of 96 inches, strength is a D, its AP is 2, and its primary weapon 3 large blast. So It's the same as your normal turbo laser destructor, it's just got 3 shots, same range and everything. Gatling blaster on the right hand side, our right hand side. Its range is 72 inches, strength is 8, it's AP 3, and its primary weapon 6 large blast. So 6 shots, it's essentially like 6 missile launchers, but with increased range, and you've got large blast templates. So just think of it that way, I suppose. I think the AP is 3 instead of 2, but there we go. And then on the top, the Apocalypse missile launcher. It's a range of 24 inches to 360 inches. I'm not being funny, but that has to be one of the largest ranges in the entire game, with the exception of the Vortex missile, which is 960 inches. So you must be playing on a football field or something to use that. But it starts at 24 inches, so that's the minimum range you can be at to fire it. And that is a strength 7, AP 3, primary weapon 5, apocalyptic barrage. So it fires 5 of those kind of large blasts, but all in a line, essentially. And then you can move where all the little blasts go, if that makes sense. And again, that's AP 3. So that and your Gatling blaster are your Space Marine killers. Obviously, you can use your laser blaster against Space Marines as well, because that's a large blast, but that's a bit overkill. Well, all these 3 weapons are overkill on your MEQ or Marine equivalent. So that's the weapons that mine's got, and you get 3 different types. I think you get like the Hun, the Goth, and I've forgotten the other one, but yeah, you in theory you can have all of them with the apocalyptic missile launchers, and I did see a conversion where it's not difficult to do by any means, because you just essentially just magnetise the missile launcher like I have, but put a bigger magnet in, because it's quite heavy. I put a 20mm 2 kilogram pull magnet in and put him on the arms, and you can have 3. You'd have 15 AP3 up to 360 inch range apocalyptic barrages each turn, which would be devastating. Anyway, they're the weapons I've got. You also see a common variation where you've got dual laser blasters, or even dual laser blasters with double barrel turbo laser destructor on the carapace for maximum anti-armour, anti-super heavy firepower. I've gone for a mix. I've got something that can deal with heavy armoured troops in a way, something that can deal with hordes, and something that can deal with armour and super heavies. So I've got a mix. Yes, I would like to get the other arm as a laser blaster as well, and probably just for giggles have a volcano cannon. So the other weapons, as I've mentioned in the Warhound video, you get the Inferno gun, which is Hellstorm template, strength 7, AP 3, primary weapon 1. We all know kind of how they work. You can have a melter cannon, which is the same range as that Gatling blaster there, 72 inches, but it's a higher strength, at strength 10. It's an AP of 1, it's primary weapon 1, it's apocalyptic blast, and it's melter. So you'd only need to be 36 inches or shorter to an enemy to get your 2d6 melter kind of penetration, which 36 inch range from one of these is still quite far, I suppose, and that's going to be good against armour. But if you've got the laser blaster, which is 96 inches, so more range, and you've got 3 shots of it, each D3 hull points, you can have 9 hull points off, whereas with the melter, with the AP1, you could probably have about 2 or 3, something like that. I haven't done the maths, but melter cannons are a little bit underpowered at the moment, in my opinion. Then you've got a plasma blast gun, same as the Warhounds one that you can use on the carapace. Double barrel turbo laser destructor, same as on the Warhound. You can have that on the carapace. You can have the volcano cannon, which I've mentioned, which is the 180 inch range, which is crazy, almost double the range of the laser blaster. That's what you're paying it for. The volcano cannon, you're not paying it for, that's what you're replacing it with. That's the reason why you get the volcano cannon over the laser blaster, because it's almost double the range. It's still D, and it's still AP2. It's only a massive blast, which is a 7-inch, but that is bigger, to get a bigger blast marker for your one shot, and it's huge range. That's what you're replacing it with. You're forgiving your high damage output in favour of longer range and a larger template. Yes, you may say, well, the laser blaster has 3 lots of 5-inch blast templates, so you've got 15-inch essentially, but all those 3 might scatter. They're not going to land all in the same place, whereas one, it's going to be there, and it'll cover more models. It'll still scatter the same, but it'll cover more models, and the damage is still going to be the same, but at a much longer range. Then you've got the Vortex missile, which I mentioned very early. That's a minimum range of 12 inches, but it goes up to 960 inches. That's a Strength D, AP1, primary weapon, large blast, Vortex, 1 use only. And the Vortex, I think it just, you're not going to get any saves from that really. And I think it stays on the board as well, but I haven't really seen them. I mean, obviously I think you can get an Imperial Guard tank that has a Vortex missile. So you could convert that, stick it on him, but having a massive missile on the top of that, you just look a little bit out of place. Then you can have a Vulcan Megabolter, again, same as Warhound. And yeah, if you want any kind of anti-flyer defense for this Titan, that's what you're going to have to go for. On the carapace, you get 15 shots, Strength 6, AP3, which isn't too bad. It's not ideal, but the other 2 weapons obviously can't shoot the flyers because they're blast weapons, which is a shame. But that's the way the rules work at the moment. I could imagine on the battlefield one of these Titans aiming up with the turbo laser at least, and making a hot streak in the sky and taking down a Harridan or flying creature or swaths of flying creatures, or if they're lucky, a jet or something like that, or a fighter if it's lucky. But obviously the speed at which flyers go, I can understand why. Or it can take a Titan Power Fist, which is Strength D, AP1, melee. I don't know why you would, because obviously it's only got 2 attacks. Yes, it's cool against other super heavies or other Titans. That's fine. Will you get in range in time? It's not a fast vehicle, it can't run or anything like that. And if you're going up against other super heavies or other Titans, they're going to be using their range against you as well. So that Power Fist, it'll deter assaults. I mean, it's got 18 hull points, but they can be stripped away quite easily if you've got a Knight Titan or a Serestus Knight that's very quick and can get in combat. Like if you get one of these Titans in combat with it, it's 3 attacks or whatever it's got, Strength D, it's going to be stripping down, it could easily, being lucky, strip down half its hull points in a turn, and then obviously it's locked up in combat, isn't it? There's no rules in this GW book that say it can't be locked in combat, unlike the Warlord Titan. And then obviously it can't shoot or anything, it's just got its stomp attacks and things like that. One of the most versatile loadouts would be to have a Power Fist, to have a Laser Blaster, and to have your Vulcan Megabolter. You've got your Laser Blaster for your super heavies, you've got your Vulcan Megabolter for wiping out the void shields of super heavies or flyers, and then you've got your Power Fist to deter any kind of assaults and things. That would be quite a universal against everything kind of loadout, I suppose, but there we go. I think with something like this, you want to use its huge amounts of hull points, its void shields, and you want to use its long range weapons to their maximum. So with something like this, you want to stay as far back as possible for any kind of assaults and things, and just shoot the hell out of your opponent. I'd even go to far as to say try and stick to about 300 inches away and just use your apocalyptic missile launcher. Obviously it's going to be tricky if there's flyers that come in from reserve, or drop pods that just appear around you, or teleporting Terminators, deep striking Terminators with Thunderhammers. They're going to have a bit of a field day. So you're best off, I've seen this term used a lot, called bubble wrapping, where you put units around quite high value targets. You shouldn't have to, because it's a Titan at the end of the day. It should be able to, you know, one stomp and create little blast markers. But either way, that's what you should do. You shouldn't just leave him on his own. You should have other vehicles and troops supporting him to lower his vulnerability to assaults and to flyers. You have flyers of your own. You can take out flyers, and obviously some anti-air if you've got anything like that, and just have him with dedicated weapons that are going to suit the job at hand. Preferably big mobs or big vehicles, other big vehicles, things like that. So yeah, I've talked about his vulnerabilities. Again, assault with other super heavies that have D weapons. He's not that vulnerable, I suppose, from shooting in a way. You've got 4 void shields of armour 12 to get rid of, and then you've got 18 hull points. I'd say it's going to be quite tricky to get all of those off in the first turn, but again, it depends on who goes first, and it depends on if the other person's got any super heavies, things like that. At 1400 points, and if you're playing a 4000 point game, they probably are going to have 1 or 2 super heavies. I mean, for 1400 points, for instance, you can get almost 4 knights, can't you? You could get 1 normal knight Titan, and you get 3 Cerastus. So you could get 3 Cerastus Knight Lancers running up the board, going into assault with him, and taking him down quite quickly. But you kind of expect that, because that's what their job is. They're very agile, get into assault, and they can just whip things in combat. Whereas this guy's primary role, sit as far back as possible and shoot the crap out of any super heavies or any high value units, transports as well. He's not going to sit there and shoot aircraft out of the sky. He's not going to kick a Knight Titan in close combat or anything like that. Just bear that in mind if you're gonna field one. So that's the end of my kind of tactics video and things. I always like to hear your feedback on how you'd use your models and things like that. So please do put it in the comments how you use your Reaver Titan if you're lucky enough to have one. Put how you've dealt with Reaver Titans. Have you used any super heavies? Have you just brought one down with devastators or groups of troops with heavy weapons, things like that, or even flyers? Just put all your comments and things down below, and thanks ever so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. So that's all from me. The Emperor protects.